A lawyer for convicted Jeffrey Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell arrived at the federal courthouse in Tallahassee, Florida this morning. Sources tell CNN he and Maxwell are meeting with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the current second in command at the Justice Department, and former criminal defense attorney for President Donald Trump.
This is extremely unusual. You never have the number 2 person in the Department of Justice go and interview anybody.
Maxwell is serving a 20-year federal sentence for carrying out a years-long scheme with Epstein to groom and sexually abuse underage girls. In May, Attorney General Pam Bondi briefed Trump that his name was in the so-called Epstein files. Sources familiar with the conversation tell CNN. It's a claim Trump denies. Trump, who was once known to be good friends with Epstein, has never been charged with any wrongdoing related to Epstein's activities. Epstein died in jail awaiting trial in 2019. His death ruled a suicide, leaving Maxwell likely the only person who knows the scope of his crimes.
There's no way you could ever believe Maxwell. She knows that the only way she'll ever see the light of day and get out of that 20-year sentence is to get a pardon.
As for any possible deal between Maxwell and the DOJ,
they have to be convinced that she has come fully clean on everybody and everything. She's shown no indication of any willingness to do that at any point.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney David Oscar Marcus spoke outside a Tallahassee courthouse on Friday after Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche questioned her for a second day.
The truth will come out about what happened with Mr. Epstein, and she's the person who's answering those questions.
Maxwell was sentenced in 2022 to 20 years in federal prison for carrying out a years-long scheme with accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein to groom and sexually abuse underage girls. She has continued to appeal her conviction. Now, officials want to find out if Epstein's former associate and ex-girlfriend has information about anyone else who has committed crimes against the victims, according to Maxwell's attorney.
We want full transparency. We want everybody who was involved in any way with the Epstein evils, let's call it what it was, to be brought to justice.
The Trump administration is facing public backlash over a perceived lack of transparency. And as sources say, Attorney General Pam Bondi told President Trump his name appears in the so-called Epstein files. Above the courthouse, a banner being towed by a plane read, "Trump and Bondi are protecting predators." On Thursday, Senator Chuck Schumer called for an all-Senate briefing on the Epstein files.
General Bondi lied to the American people. She told us we'd see the report. She told us it's on her desk. Then we're told there's no report. So you can understand the deep skepticism Americans have.
When asked if the president would consider a pardon for Maxwell,
it's something I haven't thought about. It's really something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
Despite a trip abroad, President Donald Trump still can't escape questions about Jeffrey Epstein. In Scotland Monday, Trump took time out of meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to answer questions about Epstein, trying to put distance between himself and the late convicted sex trafficker.
For years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down.
Trump also denied a report by the Wall Street Journal that he sent Epstein a birthday greeting in 2003 that included a drawing of a naked woman and his signature.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
Meanwhile, Epstein's former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, is urging the Supreme Court to take up her pending appeal after a New York-based appellate court ruled against her. Despite being sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for carrying out a years-long scheme to groom and sexually abuse underage girls with Epstein, her attorneys argue that she should have been covered by a non-prosecution agreement Epstein made with federal authorities to plead guilty. They say, "We are appealing not only to the Supreme Court, but to the president himself to recognize how profoundly unjust it is to scapegoat Ghislaine Maxwell for Epstein's crimes." When asked, Trump didn't rule clemency out.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
But we do know from the Bureau of Prisons, they have confirmed through a spokesperson that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved from a federal prison camp in Tallahassee, Florida, to a low security prison in Bryan, Texas. So that's northeast of Austin. The difference there It doesn't sound that much different, minimum security, low security, but it actually is pretty different. A camp where she was before, people move about freely, there are nonviolent offenders, or I'm sorry, where she was before, there are very likely to be violent offenders, gang members, the risk is higher. And where she is now, that would be white collar offenders, people who would not be considered to have as much risk as they would have had at places like where she was in Florida. 2 people at the prison that she is now in Bryan, Texas. 2 women, you may have heard of them before, Elizabeth Holmes from the company Theranos, and then Jen Shaw from the TV show The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Those are the types of women, nonviolent, white-collar offenders, where Ghislaine Maxwell is now. But you asked why. The Justice Department, the Bureau of Prisons, is not telling us the reason for this move. But I did speak to a prison consultant just a few minutes ago who was saying that from her perspective, this is quite good. It would be something that she would want.
From Maxwell's perspective.
From Maxwell's perspective. It's more comfortable at the camp, or at where she is in Texas, the camp. But from the Justice Department's perspective, she was speaking to the Deputy Attorney General just a couple weeks ago. That signals she may be a cooperator, and that puts her at a higher risk when there are people around her who may be potentially more violent as the inmates. So it may be one of the security decisions, but there also could be the possibility of some leniency happening here.
Wow. Really interesting. Caitlin, thank you so much for that.
No, this is absolutely unprecedented of what it transpired. So everybody is completely shocked. Within the Bureau of Prisons, they're under the DOJ, and she was at an FCI in Tallahassee. And with an FCI, there's really 2 types of prisons for women, and it's more egregious crimes. She was behind what we call the razor wire. And for her to be transferred to Bryan, which is a camp, which means no razor wire, you can literally walk off the property. And the custody level of these women, usually at a camp, are 10 years and less. And again, low level nonviolent crimes. Hers is an egregious crime. She had what we call a management variable assigned to her, which means she is not to be moved anywhere because of the nature of her crime. So by being transferred to a camp ordered by the DOJ to the BOP to do this, again, you never seen this in my life. Never seen it by women that I've either served time with, clients, never have seen this. This is unprecedented. Oh, it does. Huge. All federal inmates are transferred by the U.S. Marshal Service, whether it be Con Air, they're shackled, they're belly chained, and they're transferred. By her, under kind of the dark of night or the early morning, being put in a van and driven, very, very highly unusual. They wanted complete control of this. They did not want to put it out to the U.S. Marshals. So again, very unusual. Okay. Oh, this is going to be so much easier on her, so much. It's going from like more timed movements. Everything in an FCI, it's scheduled. When you get up, you go with a group of people, and it's timed movements all day long. Going to a camp, while it's still prison, she's going to have much more freedom. She's going to be able to get up, and if she wants to go to the dining hall, she can walk to the dining hall. It's not timed movements. She wants to go walk the track, she can go walk the track. It is completely different. It's more relaxed atmosphere. Now, by no means is this Camp Cupcake, but this is going to be definitely much more posh for her. So she's going to be able to get more items on commissary. She's going to be able to get makeup. She's going to be able to get hair dye. She's going to be able to do those types of things. So this is a very big move. With people at a camp, again, I told you 10 years and lower, low level nonviolence. Seeing somebody like this with this particular crime, though, I do believe that some of the women, because of the visibility of this, are really not going to appreciate it. I don't. There is none. There are no other people that I know who have been moved by the Bureau of Prisons, not the U.S. Marshals, and being taken with an egregious crime like this because of the management variable, meaning you can't transfer somebody to a camp. It's just, you've never seen it before. So To me, there's a deal that was made. Sorry about that. There was a deal that was made. So